Welcome back, everybody, to Unconditional Surrender, the Me, Myself, and I playthrough of the main event scenario. Game is published by GMT Games, designed by Salvatore Vasta. We are getting ready to enter into November of 1944 turn. If I can get my seat to be in the right place. So we're in November of 1944. There will be a weather die roll. The weather cannot be what it was last turn under the new weather rules that we're testing out. So we will get to rolling the weather here. In the cold zone for November, October. A 3. A 3 is poor. We can't have poor, so we have to re-roll. A 5. A 5 is severe, so that's allowed. Then we go to the mild zone, and we roll a 6. A 6 is severe. We can't have that because we already had that, so it has to be something else. So we roll again. We roll a 4, so we get poor weather. So that goes there. And in the warm zone, same thing. We can't have a... If we roll a 6, we re-roll. Otherwise, we're fine. And we roll a 6, so we re-roll it. And a 3, which becomes poor as well. Once again, almost everything is in the mild zone. There's no combats in other places, so that's the only one that really matters to us, unless you're dealing with Finland. So, that's the weather phase. Declare war phase, I really don't think so. There's no point to it. Economy phase, I'll bring up the national tracks. Germany is at 34. She has 14 factories, minus 4 lost is a 10, plus 7 economic reform, gives her 34. The British have 9 minus 1, which is 8, plus 10, which is 18, which gives her 36. And the Russians have 14 minus 1, which is 13, plus 15, 9 Urals and 6 Lend-Lease. So 15 plus 13 is 28, times 2 is 56. So Russia's almost at the maximum points it can get. So here we go. That's economy. Then we have to go to the strategic warfare phase. The Germans are at 0. The Russians are at plus 2. Germans do have submarines. The Russians do not have anything to play. Since the Americans are going to be like at plus 4 to my 0, I'm going to go ahead and use the submarines here to try and get back a factory and hopefully just keep myself at that 4 lost factory level. So we'll play the submarines now. So the Russian die roll will be halved. The Germans roll a 5, and the Russians roll a 6, plus 2 is an 8. Round divided by 2 because of the submarine makes it a 4. So a 5 to a 4 is a diamond, which is what the Germans wanted. They get a factory back. Factory loss marker goes down to 3. Russians can't go any lower. And then we roll for the submarines 4 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4. Be back in March. So, and then we go to the west. West has an ultra marker they can use if they wish. They are currently plus 2 for the Americans, and they have 2 bond markers, so they're at plus 4 to 0. I think they're just going to take the die roll and save the ultra for possible combat use. So let's go that route. So the German die roll is a 1, and then a 1 plus 4 is a 5, so a 1 to a 5 is Germans lose factory. So worked out just about the way I thought it would. Get 1 from the Russians, lose 1 to the West. Keeps me at that 4 loss marker instead of going up. And then the bombed markers go out into C zone to be used again in a minute, most likely. That's interesting. Most interesting. Not really what I want, but where am I? Strategic warfare, strategic movement for the Axis. Is there any place I can save myself a production point by strategically moving something? I don't really think so. Well, yeah, I could move this guy that's imposing. Let's move him. This is just to save me a production point. So I'm going to pick up this garrison and slide him into Krakow. Okay, the West. I'm not sure I have anything really to do here. Nope. Don't see one for the West. Don't really think there's one for the Soviets either. One of the things I do have to count for the Soviets. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I definitely have enough guys inside Russia to get my garrison requirement. I actually have more than 5, but those are like 5 regular infantry that, I'm not going to have it do anything. Okay. So no strategic movement for the Russians. And that takes us into Axis operations phase, which, like a dummy, I didn't start my timer. Ow. Okay. Axis operations phase, it's poor weather. So we're -1 and we have to do assaults. And I'm just trying to think of where do I want to try and push him back. I think we're going to put the 6th SS. 1, 2, 3. Assault here. National tracks. So that cost the Germans 2. Then 3 and 4. 2 more for the infantry. So currently in poor weather, the Panzer is the SS is the primary, so he's +1 for being elite. He's +1 because he's unarmored, and he's +2 because he's German. And then he gets +1 for each of his buddies, and then -1 because of the weather. And then we would go to combat commitment. I could throw a tanks marker in here with the Germans to get me back up to +6, but that's not worth it. The Russians are starting off at +1 because they're elite. They could throw a tank for +1, and they could throw an airplane for an extra +1. So it'd be a +5 to a +3. Really kind of want to hold that Hax. There can't be any follow-up assault on it. So go to combat commitment. The Germans say no. The armored tanks counter is probably going to come into play elsewhere. More important. So they say no. The Russians would have said yes because, like I said, I really want to hold that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We use the airplane in Vilnius. Excuse me. And then go grab a tanks marker. Throw it in there for defense. I'm put it out here so you can get it on the turn track easier. So the Russians get an extra +1 for the tank and +1 for the airplane. The Germans are at, like I said, +2 for German, +1 for elite, +1 for armor. Makes him a +4. +1 for each infantry is 5, 6, -1 for the weather. So it is a +5 to a +3. And the Germans roll. 3 + 5 is an 8. And the Russians roll. A 2 + 3 is a 5. 8 to a 5 is just enough to force them to retreat, which is what I wanted to do. I have one place to retreat. I will take it with the infantry unit. It does leave the 11th, with no retreat route, but he doesn't necessarily have that great of an attack against me in poor weather because of the woods. It's -1 for the weather, -1 for the woods. And that's someplace where I might be able to use my tanks marker. So that's part of that. Next, we're going to go here. So that's 2, 3, 4 to attack the 11th, assault the 11th Guards. Again, the Russians start off at +1. This time I start off at using the armor as the primary. So I'm +2 for German, +1 for armor, +1 for each of my buddies, and -1 for weather. And I could throw in a tanks marker. You can throw in a tanks marker. Oh, I should put that on the turn track, shouldn't I? The one that I used should come back in December. Okay. And I could throw in airplanes. He doesn't have any airplanes on this front to mess with. So, I have a good retreat route. +4 to +1. We go to combat commitment. The Germans will say no. The Russians will say yes, and they will throw in this airplane. So throw a +2. So it's +4 to +2. I'm going to save my tanks markers. +4 to +2. 3 + 4 is a 7. The Russians. 5 + 2 is a 7, so they hold the hex. Moving down the line here. Oh dear. He's going to be cut off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, I'm going to activate this garrison. Let's see, we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I started with 34. So I should be down to 26. And then this one makes 27, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. He goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just so that this guy can be in supply. And he can't. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Maybe I'm going to do this a little different. Yeah, we're going to try and push some of them back across the river. This guy goes 1, 2, 3, 4 to here. So that's 2 more points. And assaults here. This guy goes here. 2 more. And assaults here. And then this guy goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And assaults there as well. So now I should have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 from 34 is 10, 11, 12, 13. Yep, I'm in the right place. So, this attack will be the armor that's just southeast of Warsaw, southwest of Warsaw. He's going to be the primary, so he's +1, +2 for German, +1 for armor, then +1 for the garrison buddy, and +2 for armor in poor weather. So I'm at a +6 and then -1 for the weather. So I'm at a +5. He's at a -1 or +1. +5 he could get. Let's take worst case scenario. 11 to a 2 would be a DE. So I need to do something to make sure I don't get DE'd at least. Right? So go to combat commitment. The Germans could throw an armor tank marker on this guy to give him an extra +1, but I think +5 is enough. So they say no, and the Russians say yes, and they're going to use this airplane here to add 1, so that it's a +5 to a +2. That should keep me from being eliminated, even if he rolls max and I roll minimum. So the Russians roll, or Germans roll rather. 4 + 5 is a 9. The Russians roll a 1 + 2 is a 3. 9 to a 3 is a DD, so he is flipped and retreated. And they will take the hex with the garrison unit. Okay. I don't have any good attacks. 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. He's +2 in defense. I'd be 2, 3, 4. Not good. No, it'd be +4 to +2. He doesn't have any airplanes. Let's do it. Okay, so 3 more. This guy gets activated. He goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the hex. Or 6, 7 for the unit in the hex, and 8 is the actual hex. Because there's no terrain there. And then we activate this one, and we activate this one, and the first is the primary. So the first is the primary, he's +2, and +1 for each of his buddies, and he's -1, and the Russians are +1 because they're elite, +1 because they're armor. So it's a +3 to a +2. I was trying to see if I can, push them out a bit, just for kicks. The Russians cannot commit. The Germans could throw their tanks marker here to give them a +4 to 2, but I think they're just going to ride the +3 and see what happens. So, Germans roll. 5 + 3 is an 8. Russians roll. 6 + 2 is an 8, so nothing happens here. The guards unit stays. Guards tank army stays in place. The Germans really want to try and solidify around Munich. Their line is about as good as it can get. I mean, this first Canadian is what I should probably try to push out, right? Even though I'm coming across a river. It'd be -2 going in, he'd be +2. So if he'd be +2 and I would be, say, Dusseldorf is 1, 2, +1 is 3, +4, +5, 6, -2. And he can throw an airplane in. So it would probably be +5 to +3 if he throws an airplane in, because he has nowhere to retreat. So he doesn't want to lose a step. Double-edged sword here. Yeah, I think we're going to do it. So 2, 4, 5. And I'm not sure I counted in the east right. I'm going to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I started at 34. Should be down 16, so that's 10 and 4, and then 2 more to 18. And then I just spent 5 more for 13. Try a attempt to chop down this British armored unit here, the 1st Canadian. The primary will be Dusseldorf, so he's +2 for German, +1 because he thinks he's armor in poor, +1 for the infantry, +2 for the armor, and then -1 for the weather and -1 for the hex. And the British start off at +1 because they're British and +1 because they're armor. Go to combat commitment. The Germans could throw their tanks marker here to give them an extra +1. And the British can throw an airplane in. So we go to combat commitment. The Germans really want, well, they can't get it. No, the Germans say no. The British say yes because they're trying to avoid a step loss. So they go ahead and use their airplane to give them a +3. So it's +4 to +3. Germans roll. 2 + 4 is a 6. British roll. 4 + 2 is a 6. So they don't move, so they don't lose a step, which was the whole point. Didn't want to lose a step. Okay. And that pretty much is the German turn. What have I got over here so far? I do have, might move one more guy. Trying to think of what I have here. I have 2 I'm going to spend on that armor. Maybe some infantry. If I have 12 left, I can flip up 3 airplanes, build this armor, and an infantry. I might have to flip some guys up once the combats are over, but I'm in pretty good shape with 13 left. So I'm going to go ahead and make it 12. Do I need to? Yeah. Oh, I don't know what to do. I could fly the German airplanes down here to just kind of negate this. But I'm thinking it's better for me to leave them here to do combat in the air where I can use the jets. So, yeah, I think I'm done. I was thinking of moving the 12th, like to 32-22 to just, threaten things, but I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't want to spend the 4 points to push the 10th or the 9th out, because then I wouldn't have the ability to bring up like 2 airplanes and build a bunch of stuff. So I think I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, that's going to be the German turn. Now I got to check supply. Down the rails, all these guys are in supply over here in the west. Then we go to the east where we don't have everybody in supply. Unfortunately. This guy's in supply. He was not in supply last turn. Oh, yes, he was, because they pushed me out of this space. So it was 1, 2. So I was. This guy now is in supply. 1, 2. So I was wrong. He is in supply. Because he can 1, 2 to a rail and then on into Königsberg. So he's back alive. I can spend a point there to flip him up. Depending on what else he does to me. So, yeah, we're kind of screwed. No matter what we do with the Germans. Okay. That is the Axis operations phase. I'm going to go ahead and stop this here. And then we'll pick up with the West and see between the West and the Soviets if I'm really quick. Might only be a 2-episode turn. But we will stop for now. That is the Axis operations for November 1944. And we will be back in... Oh, this is Dren 608. If you like my videos, please subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And we will be back with the Western operations phase in just a little bit. Until then, bye-bye.